In September 2025, reports will begin to surface. Japan will be preparing something almost unthinkable. A plan to hand over 6 JMSDF destroyers to the Philippines. If it happens, it will be a break with all of history. For the first time in the modern era, Japan will export full-fledged warships. Not patrol boats, not Coast Guard cutters, but true destroyers. Vessels that once carried harpoon missiles and anti-submarine rockets. For decades, Japan's pacifist constitution kept its navy close to home. Now, those same gray hulls may soon sail under a different flag. On the front lines of the South China Sea, why would Tokyo take such an unprecedented step? And what secret agenda will hide beneath this deal? Picture the scene. 6 steel gray hulls leaving Japanese ports, cutting south into Philippine waters, while Chinese satellites track every movement. Each mile they sail will send a clear message. This will not be rumor. Philippine inspection teams will already have boarded the ships. Decisions will be made within months. This is the untold story of Japan's 6 warships. The deal that could redraw Asia's naval balance, and the hidden motive no one is talking about. In June 2025, the story will break into the open. Japan's defense minister and Philippine Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro will stand side by side, confirming what few ever imagined possible. Talks will be underway for the transfer of 6 Japanese warships. Not rumors, not whispers, but real discussions at the highest level. On the table will be 6 Abukuma-class destroyer escorts, steel gray hulls built to patrol Japan's own waters during the Cold War. Ships once armed with harpoon anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and anti-submarine rockets. To Manila, the impact will be stunning. For decades, the Philippines begged for hand-me-downs, old cutters from the US, small patrol craft from allies, but never full-fledged destroyers. Now Japan will be offering a gift wrapped in steel. For Filipino sailors, it will feel like stepping into a different world. From rusting hulls to sleek ocean-going warships capable of patrolling the contested South China Sea, the emotional shock will be profound. A nation long dismissed as toothless will suddenly face the possibility of commanding a credible fleet. But behind the celebration lies the deeper conflict. Why would Japan break its own decades-long restraint? Since the end of World War II, Tokyo has lived under the shadow of Article 9, a pacifist clause that restrained arms exports. For years, Japan limited itself to defensive transfers, avoiding anything that looked like rearmament abroad. Yet now, 6 warships will be on offer to a country on China's doorstep. This is not charity. It is not nostalgia. It is strategy. To understand this moment, we must look at Japan's quiet but decisive policy shift. For nearly 80 years, Japan will live under the weight of its past. The defeat of 1945 forged a new national identity, one built on pacifism, not power. Article 9 of the Constitution tied Japan's hands. Its self-defense forces could guard the homeland, but exporting weapons abroad was unthinkable. For decades, this became part of Tokyo's very soul. But history does not stand still. In 2014, the first cracks appeared. Japan introduced the so-called 3 principles on transfer of defense equipment. For the first time, limited exports became possible, but only under strict conditions. Still, the spirit of restraint remained. No major weapons ever left Japanese hands. That line will shift again in 2023. Tokyo will quietly revise its rules, opening the door to transfers with like-minded partners. In plain words, Japan will give itself the right to arm its allies. This will be more than a legal change. It will be a rewriting of identity. A nation once defined by peace clauses will admit it now lives in an age of threats. Every decision maker will feel the tension. On one side, Japan's post-war legacy of pacifism. On the other, China's rising power, North Korea's growing arsenal, and Russia's sharpened aggression. Japan will no longer ask if it can export weapons. It will ask which weapons, where, and why. And in that new space, 6 gray hulls will suddenly matter. But what exactly are these ships that stirred such waves in both Tokyo and Manila? Between 1989 and 1993, Japan built a small fleet of escorts that would soon carry a legendary reputation. They were the Abukuma class, 2,000 tons of steel, designed as fast and capable submarine hunters. Each ship carried harpoon anti-ship missiles, ASROC launchers, and the close-in phalanx defense system. For decades, they patrolled Japanese waters, silent guardians against lurking submarines. But by 2025, these warships will stand at the edge of retirement. Newer destroyers with advanced radars, long-range missiles, and cutting-edge systems will overshadow them. In Japan's Navy, the Abakumas will become ghosts, still powerful, but fading from the front line. And yet, the Philippines has no true destroyers. Its Navy sails with aging frigates, cutters, and small patrol craft. For them, 6 Abakuma-class warships will feel like a leap into another era. Old warhorses, yes, but still lethal in the right hands. Each phalanx gun could shred incoming missiles. Each harpoon launcher could strike ships miles away. Each hull could extend Philippine presence deep into contested waters. Overnight, Manila's fleet would be transformed. From coastal defense to blue water deterrence. From symbolic patrols to credible force projection. The emotional impact will be enormous. Sailors once mocked for crewing hand-me-downs will step onto ships with real teeth. Citizens will see a Navy finally strong enough to be taken seriously. But every transfer carries hidden conditions. Even gifts wrapped in steel come with strings attached. And the deal for these 6 warships will be no different. But every gift has a hidden catch. And these 6 Japanese warships will be no exception. Japan still lives under the shadow of Article 9. By law, it cannot freely export full offensive weapons without US approval. That restriction will cut deep into the deal. When the Abukuma-class ships leave Japan, they will not look the same. The Harpoon anti-ship missiles, gone. The torpedo tubes, removed. Even the Phalanx CIWS, the last line of defense against incoming threats, stripped from the decks. What will remain is steel without its sharpest teeth. To Manila, the delivery will feel both powerful and painful. On one hand, 6 real destroyer hulls. The foundation of a Navy it never had before. On the other, the heartbreak of seeing them arrive unarmed. Filipino sailors will walk their new decks and see empty mounts where weapons once stood. Citizens will celebrate the arrival of new warships, yet quietly wonder if they are only shells of their true selves. The conflict will sharpen into a question. Are these 6 ships a real deterrent, capable of changing China's calculations? Or are they just empty hulls, symbols without the strength to bite? Manila will face a costly choice. Spend millions to refit these destroyers with Western or local weapons, or risk leaving them as hollow reminders of what they could have been. And that decision will shape not just the ships, but the future of the Philippine Navy itself. On paper, the offer will look like a gift. 6 warship hulls, transferred from Japan to the Philippines for free. But in reality, nothing in defense comes without a price. Each Abakuma-class destroyer will arrive stripped bare. No missiles, no torpedoes, no advanced radars. To make them battle-ready, Manila will need to spend millions per ship. Combat systems will need to be integrated. New radars and sensors will need to be installed. And modern missiles will have to be purchased from either Western suppliers or India. The ships may come free, but everything that makes them dangerous will cost the Philippines a fortune. For an already stretched Navy, this will cut deep. Budgets are limited. Other projects, new frigates, will all be competing for the same pool of funds. To sailors and citizens, the arrival of 6 gray hulls will feel like progress. But to planners inside the Defense Ministry, it will feel like a burden wrapped in steel, a gift that demands sacrifice. The conflict will be painful. Should Manila accept the challenge, pour billions into modernization, and finally field a Navy that can stand tall? Or should it walk away, stay small but debt-free, avoiding the weight of maintaining 6 aging warships? Each option carries risk. Each path carries costs. And so the question will rise. Why is Japan pushing so hard to put these ships in Philippine hands? By 2025, the shadow over the South China Sea will be impossible to ignore. Chinese gray zone tactics will grind on relentlessly. At Second Thomas Shoal, Chinese Coast Guard ships will circle and block Philippine resupply missions. At Scarborough Shoal, water cannons and steel hulls will bully smaller Filipino boats. Each clash will remind Manila of its vulnerability, and Japan will be watching closely. But this time, Tokyo will not just watch, it will act. The transfer of 6 Abakuma-class destroyers will come with an open admission. Japan will declare the deal is meant to strengthen deterrence against China. For once, Tokyo will not hide behind vague language. It will name the threat directly. For decades, Japan stayed cautious, tied down by its pacifist legacy. Now, it will step boldly into a frontline role, arming a neighbor at China's very doorstep. Beijing's response will be swift. Don't target us, Chinese officials will warn, but the message will already be clear. Every Abakuma-class hull that sails under the Philippine flag will send a signal. China's monopoly on pressure will finally face pushback. The conflict will sharpen into a dangerous game. Brace for the consequences, and the region will feel the shift, because it won't just be about two nations. The Philippines and Japan will not be standing alone. Others will be ready to join the game. Joint patrols will sail across the South China Sea, and trilateral summits will turn once fragmented policies into a united front. Warships, bases, and treaties will merge into a defensive arc stretching across the Western Pacific. A shield of steel and alliances aimed at containing Chinese power. Three nations, once separated by geography and history, will now lock shields against a common adversary. For Manila, this will mean confidence that it never had alone. For Tokyo, this will mean stepping beyond its pacifist shadows. For Washington, this will mean anchoring another partner at China's doorstep. The South China Sea will no longer be just contested waters. It will become the front line of a silent coalition. Every patrol will be tracked by Chinese satellites. Every exercise will trigger Chinese warnings. Every new ship in Philippine colors will fuel the perception of an expanding blockade. The balance of power will be tilting, but not by accident. Because behind the symbolism of gifting 6 warships, Japan will hold a secret agenda. And that agenda will reveal why Tokyo is pushing harder than anyone realizes. By 2025, the truth behind Japan's gift will come into focus. This will not just be about transferring aging warships. It will be about binding the Philippines into Tokyo's security orbit. The 6 Abakuma-class destroyers will carry more than steel. They will carry symbolism. They will mark the first ever export of Japanese combat ships in modern history. And with that fact bomb, the Philippines will no longer be just a regional partner. It will be cemented as a Japanese strategic partner in the Western Pacific. The emotional weight will be undeniable. For Tokyo, gifting warships will not simply strengthen Manila's navy. It will tie their futures together. Every patrol, every exercise, every deployment will remind both nations of their shared commitment. For Manila, the stakes will be sharper. Rejecting the deal would risk isolation, a signal of weakness at a time of growing pressure. Accepting would mean full commitment to Japan's Pacific vision, a vision of allies encircling Chinese power with ships, bases, and treaties. The Philippines will no longer have the luxury of neutrality. It will be choosing sides, and choosing to lock shields with Tokyo, even as Beijing watches. This will not just change Manila's fleet, it will change its future. And it will leave the region asking the biggest question of all. What does this deal truly mean for the balance of power in Asia? By the end of 2025, the ultimate realization will be clear. The 6 Abakuma-class destroyers will not change the balance through raw firepower. They are old, they are stripped, they are shadows of their prime. But their true value will lie elsewhere, in the alliances they forge. The twist in perspective will be striking. The real weapon Japan will export is not steel, it is strategy. The moral lesson will echo across Asia. Power will no longer rest only in missiles, or fleets, or bases. It will rest in the strength of partnerships. The emotional high point will cut deep. Warships once built to defend Japan's coasts will now patrol Philippine seas, sailing under another flag, watched closely by China's calculating eye. The echo of the hook will return. The secret agenda was never hidden in the ships. It was hidden in the alliance they represent, and the reflection will be haunting. Is the Philippines ready to carry this weight? To bear the consequences of a war that Japan is preparing for? The answer will decide the future of the Pacific. 6 ships, 1 decision. For the Philippines, acceptance could unlock a new era of naval strength, but it could also lock the nation into a rising storm. The emotional closure will be hard to escape. A gift of steel will not come without weight. Because in geopolitics, nothing is ever truly free. Every so-called gift is leverage. Every deal ties nations together in ways that cannot be easily undone. The value reminder will be sharp. Alliances are built not only on trust, but also on obligations that carry consequences. This is the reality of a world tilting toward conflict. Subscribe now for more deep dives into the hidden deals reshaping Asia's balance of power. And ask yourself, should the Philippines accept Japan's 6 warships? Or is this gift too dangerous to handle?